What's up guys, I'm Kel, Red Zone Rogue, and welcome to another Force of Will strategy video. So today we're going to be talking about Reiya. This is all about Reiya, the fourth daughter of the Mikage, my favorite of the starter deck rulers from the Reiya cluster, and, frankly, one of my favorite rulers to date. She's really cool. She kind of has some problems right now building a deck around her because there's not a whole lot of mystery counter generators, and we'll get into that, but I still think this deck is a lot of fun. It's, not as good as like your top tier Fox decks or your Priscia decks, but it's still a lot of fun to bring to like locals and play against other people who are making like starter deck and other new frontiers rulers. So yeah, without further ado, let's jump into the deck tech with Reiya, fourth daughter of the Mikage. So Reiya's ruler side is pretty simple. She's a ruler with a judgment of 2 darkness and 1 of any. She has energize. At the beginning of the game, you put a mystery counter on this card, and you can rest her to put a mystery counter on this card. And then she's got like this Wingdings ability. We have no idea what that is yet. I hope it's really good. Maybe it'll make her even better than she is right now. And then on her J ruler side, she's really sweet. She has flying. She's a 1200 vampire. When this card enters the field, you put 3 mystery counters on it, so that's pretty cool. And you can rest her to remove a mystery counter from her and destroy a Resonator, and she also has Wingdings. So yeah, once again, no idea what the fuck the Wingdings do, but in any case, I think she's still really cool. Her J ruler side is like a finisher in of itself, and this deck is going to be a pretty heavy control deck, I would say. So yeah, let's start getting into the will base, or the stone base, because we are going to be running only 2 colors. Alright, so first up for the stone base, we have 4 stone from the Dark Castle. It's a pretty good stone for Reiya. The only downside is that it is like a mono darkness stone. It only produces darkness, and because of that, this is going to be a heavy darkness deck. I wanted to run a full playset of these to maximize on Reiya's ability and her like mystery counter mechanic. I know you can build it a couple different ways, but I wanted to maximize the mystery counter mechanic, so yeah, this is the best way to generate mystery counters right now, which is kind of unfortunate, but it's still pretty good. This card counts as a darkness magic stone, which is relevant for a certain card in the deck, and then when it enters the field, you put a mystery counter on your J ruler, and you can rest it to produce a darkness. So yeah, kind of a no-brainer for Reiya with this card. Alright, next up I run 4 Magic Stone of Dark Depth. And yeah, this is going to be a water darkness deck. I mean, not much else to say. Like, dual stone, really good stone. Yeah, and I like this art because it's all like Cthulhu tentacly. So yeah, kind of a no-brainer on this one too. And then finally we have the Remains of Attoractia. And I chose these ones over like the Vingolf 3 ones just because these ones count as a darkness magic stone, and they also produce darkness or water. The ability to like, come into play, rest, and it deals like 300 damage to you, or you lose 300 life, or pay 300 life, whatever, semantics, is kind of irrelevant, but I do like the final ability. It says target Resonator token gains +100/+100 till end of turn, and we do have 1 card in the deck that generates tokens, so yeah, I mean, I see this using, pumping up the tokens every now and again. It's not like, the most useful thing, but, it is what it is, and I think it's a good choice for this deck. Alright, so we're going to kick off the main deck with the Resonators, and as you can see here, I run a full playset of Flute's Water Dragon. This is like basically one of the only reasons to even run water for this deck. I think there's this one other card and then like sideboard cards. And yeah, this card basically lets you generate mystery counters on Reiya's ruler side. It says, in case you didn't know, it's a 1 cost, 100/400 dragon. He's kind of dopey looking, in all honesty. It says you may rest this recovered card to call a magic stone rather than rest your J ruler. So you don't get to do it twice. You just rest this dude and then call a stone, and that counts as your stone calling for the turn. Like, that's it. You can't use your ruler to call another stone, but you can use your ruler to rest her to generate mystery counters, which is, the whole reason we run this card. And then it also has a Seal 5, which a lot of people forget. And it says, if you control 5 or more magic stones, he gains 400/400 and flying. So that's not too bad. Not too bad at all. It becomes a 500/800 flying. Yeah, this card's really good, and basically the whole reason that we run water to begin with. Next up we have Shade, Envoy of Darkness. This card is sick. He's a 600/400 for 2 darkness. He's a spirit. You can rest him and banish him to deal 600 damage to target J Resonator, which is cool. You can hit J rulers, and you gain 600 life, and then as a resonance, so whenever you call or whenever a darkness magic stone enters your field, you may pay 3 darkness if you do put this card on top or from your graveyard into your hand. So that's why all of the stones in the deck are darkness stones for shade. Some builds might want to run 4 shades and 1 less of another card that we'll talk about later. But Shade is a fantastic card. He's like very, very powerful control card because he keeps coming back. Yeah, not much else to say. This card is sweet. Yeah, he's sweet. Next up, I run a full playset of Abdul Alhazred, Poet of Madness. And yeah, this card is one of the best cards in the game right now because Fox is one of the best decks in the game. This card, like, single-handedly holds Fox at bay. So he's a 600/600 for 2 darkness Resonator Wizard, and he says, Resonators entering your opponent's field don't cause their own abilities to trigger, and that says in tiny little text on the bottom, and that is super sweet. Fucks over all of your opponent's Foxes. There we go, getting focused, man. Fucks over the Chimeras, and it fucks over any other thing that has a come into play ability, which is really, really sweet. Really, really sweet. I can say words. And he does not mess over your own stuff, which is also really cool. I mean, Abdul is just a staple of Force War right now, and yeah, I mean, if you're playing Darkness, you should probably run Abdul. Next up, I run a singleton Miserly Alice, Girl of the Blue Planet. She's a 500/600 for 2 water. She has Will of Hope, which is super irrelevant. She has Flying, and she has Seal. And this is the whole reason we run her. This card gains the following ability as long as you control 4 or more magic stones. God's Art as your bonds, which means you can only do this once per game. And that's like regardless of how many Alices you had. So if I had 4 Alices, I could still only use that ability once. Like not once per Alice, like once in the whole game. So this is why I only run 1. And it says, name a non-magic stone card. As long as this card is in a field, players cannot play cards with that name. So yeah, this is a really cool card. You can like name Severing Winds, or you can name, you know, whatever the hell you can think of. And yeah, great card. Next up, I have the dark version of that Alice, the Dark Alice, Manifestation of Rage. This card is super sweet. It's a 500/500 for 2 darkness, Will of Hope. No one gives a shit about that. And it says, when this card enters your field, remove all Resonators in your opponent's graveyard from the game. For each Resonator removed this way, put a +100/+100 counter on this card. And it says, when this card leaves your field for a non-field zone, so if it's put back in your hand, or if it dies, or anything like that, you put a 100/100 Darkness Shadow Resonator token into your field for each +100/+100 counter on this card. And it says, release the Seal abilities of Darkness cards and spells you control. We're not playing any of that stuff. There is some decent Darkness Seal ability stuff, but you know, I couldn't really fit them in the deck, and right now the deck is working fine without them. But yeah, this card is sweet. You just like destroy your opponent's graveyard, and she gets huge, and if they somehow remove her, you get a bunch of tokens. It's like super resilient. I like this card quite a bit. I know you can run Resard over her, the Resard that, you know, like singles out specific cards in your opponent's graveyard and removes them, but it's at a cost of life, and I don't want to like lose too much life because there's a lot of aggro shit going around. So yeah, I like Dark Alice quite a bit in this slot. And finally, for the Resonators, I run a full playset of Dark Riding Hood. So this is the first instance of mystery counter users in the deck. So she's a 700/800 for 3 darkness. She's a fairy tale. She says, this card gains whenever this card deals damage to a Resonator, destroy that Resonator as long as your life is 2,000 or less. And then it gains swiftness if your life is 1,000 or less. And then it says, when this card enters your field, you may remove 2 mystery counters from your J Ruler. 2 is actually quite a lot. And it says, if you do, remove target Resonator from the game. So that's really cool. I mean, she's pretty good even without that. She's kind of like a really good comeback card. And then the final line of text says, whenever this card attacks, it deals 200 damage to target player or Resonator, and you gain 200 life. So like an ideal situation would be like, even if you're like behind or even if you're winning, this card is really sweet. If you're losing, once again, this is the ideal situation that I just mentioned, you can play her. She will have swiftness, and then you can attack, deal 200 damage to a Resonator, and then gain 200 life, and the Resonator dies because of the first ability. You know, whenever this card deals damage to a Resonator, you destroy it. So that's really sweet. So like even if you don't have the mystery counters, I think she's pretty good. And if you do have the mystery counters, you can kill 2 things, which is even better. So yeah, this card's great. There could be some like mystery counter starvation going on in the deck. I think there's like 15 or something like that number of mystery counter uses in the deck, but they're all good on their own. So yeah, you could take Dark Riding Hood out for 2 more Shade Envoy of Darkness. you know, I wouldn't blame you. That could be the best choice, but I really like this card. It's a new card, and, you know, I want to play around with the new cards more than the old cards right now. So, yeah, that's why I'm running a full playset of Dark Ready. Alright, so next up are the Chants, and the first chant we're going to talk about is the Scorn of Dark Alice. This card's sweet. It just says, look at target opponent's hand, choose a Resonator, they discard that card. Fantastic card, you know, a great turn 1 play, a great, like, turn 5 play. You can look at, see what your opponent's doing with their hand, and you get to pick their best Resonator and dump it in the graveyard. This card is absolutely fantastic, and it really goes in tandem with the next card, and this is the Nameless Mist. This card is super sweet. It's very similar. It says, look at your opponent's hand, choose a non-Resonator card, they discard that card, and then you get to put a +100/+100 counter on a Resonator you control. So yeah, pretty sweet. It's basically the opposite of Dark Alice, or the Dark Alice is the opposite of this, or whatever. You get to pick a non-Resonator. I like this card more because you can get rid of your opponent's like counter spells or burn spells or big finisher spells or anything like that, and then you get to buff one of your dudes a little bit. So that's pretty sweet, and it works well with Dark Alice because +100/+100 counters will turn into 100/100 dudes at some point. So yeah, Nameless Mist, Scorn of Dark Alice, excellent choices for control decks. And next up is the Heteroclite Excalibur, and as you can see, I run a full playset of this card as well. This card is awesome. It is a chant for 1 darkness. It says, remove target Resonator from the game, you lose 500 life. And that's it. Just a 1-cost, unconditional removal spell. You end up losing some life, but we do have some situational life gain in the deck. I don't think the 500 life is that big of a deal, especially when you're like removing a huge dangerous threat. Yeah, Heteroclite Excalibur is excellent, and basically the rest of the cards in the deck are going to be removal spells, or have the ability to remove dudes from the game. So yeah, let's move on to the next card, which is Sword of the Half Moon. And I'm only running 2 of these because, you know, you can put it back in your hand. So what this card does, it's a chant with quick cast, 2 darkness, it's a mystery, whatever the fuck that means. It says target J Resonator. Once again, it can hit J Rulers, which is really cool. Gains -600, -600 until end of turn. If this card was awakened, you can put it into your owner's hand as it resolves, and the awakening is remove 2 mystery counters from your J Ruler. So yeah, you don't have to do that. It's still a pretty good card without the awakening, and with the awakening, it becomes like this repeatable removal spell, which is really, really sweet. I'm only running 2 because, you know, you don't want to return too many to your hand, and it's not as efficient as like Heteroclite Excalibur, but I still think it's good and worth a slot in the deck. Next up we have Blood Spray, and this card is super sweet. It is a chant, mystery, whatever the fuck that means again, for 2 darkness. It says draw 2 cards, this card deals 300 damage to you. That is not too bad. We do have a lot of cards that deal damage to us, but I don't think it's too big of a deal right now. They really need to print a Reiya card that like, or card for Reiya that's just like, put a mystery counter on your J Ruler, draw a card, or recover your J Ruler, or yeah, J Ruler or Ruler, draw a card, something like that. There really isn't that right now, which Reiya really, really needs. But anyway, this also has an awakening cost of removing a mystery counter from your J Ruler, and then destroy target Resonator with total cost 2 or less. This is sweet. You don't have to do the awakening cost for this card to be good, but if you do, that's a tasty little 3-for-1. You get to draw 2 cards, and your opponent loses a dude, all for the cost of 1 Blood Spray. This card's sweet. Very, very cool. And the last card of the deck is I run 3 Vitality Drains. It is a quick cast, chant, mystery for 3 of any and 2 darkness. It says target player loses 1,000 life and you gain 1,000 life. That's a huge life swing. And it says awakening, remove a mystery counter from your J Ruler. This card deals 1,000 damage to target Resonator. So yeah, you can like kill a dude, gain 1,000 life, deal 1,000 damage. The fact that you gain life is pretty good because we have a lot of cards that deal damage to us, and it just does straight up 1,000 damage to your opponent. This is like the big finisher of the deck. You can use a lot of the other cards to like trade with your opponent's Resonators and do a lot of that. You can do a lot of like plays that, you know, kind of don't really put you at a disadvantage, but you can easily trade with your opponent's stuff, so you can finish them off with Vitality Drain. This card's really cool. The fact that it's quick cast is also really cool. Like, yeah, I like Vitality Drain a lot. It might be right to cut one of these for something else, but for the time being, you know, I like running 3. So there you guys have it. That was my Reiya 4th Daughter of the Mikage strategy video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Next up, I will be doing probably a Pandora, like Golem OTK style deck video. There's some pretty cool stuff you can do with that. Also, I want to do a recap for Wanderer Elves. Just kind of like a little update video showing you all the new cards that I put into my Wanderer Elf deck. it's a really fun deck, and Wanderer is really fun to play from time to time. I'm getting more into New Frontiers as I play because honestly, not a whole lot of people play Wanderer, but that's okay. New Frontiers is cool, and it's changing. There's a lot of Fox and Prissia running around, but you can really do whatever you want at your locals. So yeah, guys, leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good shit. Once again, man, thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you all next time for some more Force of Will content. Have a good one, all, and I will see you later.